Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial. Today I introduce you to my new tutorial series which covers the new inventory system which is based on the PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds inventory system. So here you go with a look at what we will achieve in this series. So I will always take this picture as reference and we will build our system upon this one. So let's get started. So I already opened my project browser and I will take the third person demo project and I call this PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds inventory. And let's create this. Before we start, let me say that I will start fresh from the beginning, so I have no template done before, and I will go through all the steps based off my mind idea. So if there are some bugs after one video, don't panic, I will fix them in the next video. And if I don't, because I didn't saw them or something, just write them under the comments and I will try to delete them in the next video. So you can now see how I go through all the steps when I have an idea and start experimenting with the Unreal Engine. So enough talk, let's start. So the first thing I always do is I create my folder structure. So this was not correct. So I go to content and make my new folder here, one for UMG and of course one for the inventory. Some people might give them some colors, but I don't, so you're free to colorize your folders. Very simple here, just right click and set color and you can give it a color. So the next step for me is always to create when I want to make a widget, of course a widget, a main widget, and this time we call this inventory main. And most of the time I also add the text or something so I can actually see that this inventory is added to the player. But since 4.17 is out, we can add a blur and see if it's working. So, and I always resize here the DPI scale to 1. So it's now synchronized with my monetary size. So you might have another size and you can pick then the other size. And as we know, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds uses a blur, and we have here this cool blur effect under special effects, which we can add here, simple, and just make this full size. And then apply the blur. I use 5 here, and we can test this in a few seconds. Before we test, we need to open our third person character. In here, just scroll out and search for a free place. And let's type in I key. Scroll up, and here it is. So when we press it the first time, we want to create a widget. This widget will be our inventory main, and after that we want to promote this to the variable, to the reference, so we call this inventory ref. And as always, we need to add it to the viewport at the first time. So what we want to do next is to add a flip-flop, so we can open and close this. So first time is open, and second time would be set visibility. So let's bring in first inventory ref and then set the visibility. We can set this to collapsed, so it will not take any space anymore. And from this perspective here, we need to have an isValid, so we can check if the current widget is created one time before, or if it's the first creation of this widget. And if it's the first creation of this widget and it's not valid, this function here is empty or something, then we will create the inventory. Is this not the case, so it is valid but it is collapsed or something, then we just say set visibility. Or we just copy this over here and put this in here, and then we say visible. So we can compile and save, play and press I. You can see it is blurred. What we can do next is to add the correct mouse input, so we can see the mouse actually. And for this I just make new functions, because the functions from Epic lack the set show mouse. And for this, so I make a simple function. So input mode UI, simple. And we get here always the player controller, so let's bring them in. This one, and we set show mouse. And here we set it to show. And we set also the input mode to game and UI, because I get not a bug, but if you make UI only, you can't make a keyboard input, so we can't close the inventory anymore. So that's why we pick game and UI. And yeah, then we actually bring in here the widget to focus. And yeah, that's it. On the visibility and on the create inventory, we will connect this input mode. And here for the collapsed, we just make input mode game, and we can simply copy this here over into this. Oh, I made there a mistake. Input mode game, and we set show mouse. We want to make it invisible, and of course we want to set input mode to game only, like this. So one common bug now is if you now play and test this whole system, so it will work here and we will get back into game mode, but if I click now and press, we can move the camera. And there's a simple way to fix this with a Boolean. So we actually set here a Boolean, so let's create this Boolean. I name this is in widget question mark, and we set this here to true. And in this mode here, we set it to false, like this. And what we now need to do is go to our mouse input here. And if this is true, we won't go here in. So we make not. So I always go to the through way. So this is why I go not, like this, and true. So we are not in widget, then we can move the mouse. If this one here is true, then this will make it false. And if this is false, this will make it true. So very simple logic here. Let's get the same again. So if we connect this now, and now compile it and save and play, and we hit and we click, nothing happens. So yeah, that's how we can perfectly display the inventory. So the next step for me would be to create the items. So I go here into my folder structure, into my inventory, sorry, and then I will create a blueprint class here, and I pick the actor, and we will just call this master item. So here are, I don't know how much ways, but I will say a million ways to create an item system. I found my best way to create it for me, but I think there are ways that go better, but you need to experiment with it and just try everything out. So for me, the best thing is to create the structure with all the item data, but it would always also be possible to just create the master item and make here some variables, and this will be something like the data. So yeah, it depends totally on you how you go through all the steps now, but look at my and try it out. Maybe you find some better ways, maybe not, maybe you like my way, I don't know. So what I try to say here is that in programming we have no perfect way. So yeah, let's just start. Enough talk here. So as always, inside our item data we have a name, a string, then we have a description, and we have probably an image, which will be a texture 2D. And we have of course a lot more, but I will just leave now the view here. Maybe we cannot also get in weight or something. And of course this is a float. And maybe yeah, later we need some meshes and all this stuff. But I think for this time this will yeah, be enough. But what I do also for sorting is to create an enumeration. So every item gets something like a topic where they belong to. So we go to blueprints and go to enumeration and call this item enum or something. And we go into this and we create here some default things here. So we have weapons, of course, we have armor or clothes, and we have consumables. And yeah, we have much more, but we can dynamically add later on more. Same like here. So, but to actually have access onto this item, and we need to bring it in here. So we can say here something like category or something. Category. I don't know perfect word in English for this. So yeah, but it doesn't depend how you call this. So this is just for me here. And yeah, as you can see, this is I think a bug in 4.17. So if you save, the texture here goes to object reference and this one gets to byte, because in real it is an object and in real it is a byte. But yeah, Epic handles this not like this. And if you reopen the item data, you will see nothing, but okay, here under the default values you can still see that this is a picture and this is an enumeration, but here it's bugged now, so just ignore this. So now let's go to the master item and make here our default item. So this will always have a scene, so add this scene and make it the root, so we have not this ugly point here. And we can also add mesh if you like, but I will just stack to this empty scene. But what we need to do is a variable that is the item data, or that holds the item data, like this, and then we can compile and save. Now we open this, and yeah, here you can see this item is in this actor. Oh, my fault here, I make a breakpoint there. So yeah, let's go on. So now master item holds all the infos, and we always create a child out of this. So create child blueprint, and we call this apple, for example. And we call this weapon 1. I don't know weapon name. Yeah, weapon 1. So, and these things will now hold the item data, and now I can give them the item data for these items. So oh, and actually I see now I forgot something. This is the amount. So let's go into item data and add here one more variable called amount. And if we go through amount, we also need is stackable, so we can determine if this item should be stacked or if it's a solo item. Yeah, like this. And all the time you change your item data, you need to compile the master item, and then you can change here the values in the apple. So let's call this apple. Tasty. Image, the logo, weight is 1, it's a consumable. And my English is today really bad. I don't know why there is an E. Something like I really make here some mistakes. I don't know why. So let's get to the enum and let's delete this E here. So yeah. Okay, and inside this apple, it's a consumable. And I don't know what's wrong with me today. I'm sorry. Just ignore it. My brain is dead. So let's get the amount to 1 and it's stackable. And on the other hand, the weapon is a weapon 1 and it's powerful or it's strong. Yeah, I just type in blah 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 for more space in here so we can test the auto size of the widgets later. And let's bring in some more things here. Let's get this one. The weight is 5 and it's a weapon, that's correct. It has only 1 and it is not stackable. And of course we need also a static mesh that represents this item. So for this one I think a cube that is very small is okay. And for the weapon you can also get a cube. But we can format this not like the apple, so we say this is 0.5 for example. Let's say the y is also 0.5. Let's say the z is 0.2 and this is 0.2, like this. Yeah, and yeah, that's this for the items. We can now just simply put them in here everywhere, and also the weapon. So we can, in a few steps or maybe in the next video, test this all. So yeah, the next step would be create a line trace or a multi-line trace, because PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds has two actual types to get the items. We have the ground option, which is here this option, which shows all the items near us, and we have the F, I guess, where we can pick up items in front of us. So let's first make this with the F. So we go to our third person character and let's close all these other here. And let's make this in a comment and call this open inventory. And this is, I think this is finished. Maybe you have bugs. Then we will bring this later on in, but for now we will just leave it there at the top. And here we can now bring in our F key or E key, I don't know, or T or Z, whatever you like. I will stuck to the F. And for this we will have now a function. And this function will be a simple trace, or we call this line trace. And here we have a lot of options. So type in type in trace, not line trace. Here we have the multi. We will use the line trace or the capsule or the box. Yeah, you're free to use whatever you like. I think I will use the sphere. Where is it? There. By channel, of course, because we want to have all the visibility things to be checked. And our first point to start with will be the follow camera. So we get the location of this. This will be start point. And then we have the forward vector for the end. We multiply this by length, so we need float. And we know the camera boom is 300, so we add 300, so we are at character height or position. And now we think about how far we want to have the actual trace. So I want the trace to be 200, but now I need to have it at 500 because we have these 300 point long spring arm or camera boom. Then what we always need to do is apply the start vector to it and then plug in into the end, and let's say this is 40 or something like this. And at the beginning we can say we want to see it for duration, so we can test. And from the hit result we only want to go on when we have a hit. Then we want to break this one out here. And then we want to say cast to master items. So we casting to items to master items in all its child. So we test here if it is an item. And if the cast file failed, we could say print string, but we will have always print string when we not hit an item, and this is a lot. So we leave it as it is. But what we can do next is now to return here value. And before, of course, we want to say, yeah, let's say hidden actor, let's say master item, let's say master or item reference, item ref. So we have always the item ref. But what's important here too is to set the item ref to empty if we fail. So this prevents stacking up items into the inventory after you already collected them. So yeah, from here we can also say return. And now in the event graph we can bring this in here and combine them and actually test this. So if we hit F, you can see we have the sphere, and it's going yeah, it's going a bit too far, I guess. Let's say this is a bit smaller here and 415, and this radius is only 13. So you can play with these values here, and yeah, see how far we can go. So there is the radius, so we can collect everything that is in this radius here. But another thing that comes to my mind now is to actually change the normal view here, because I don't like this position of the camera or not. I don't like it, sorry. So I will actually make this to 115 and bring this up to the head. And then I also bring the camera to the right. Something like 60 or yeah, so. And what I do next is also I changed here the value of the camera room, so I need to change it here too. And I guess 300 is now the value for me. And if I play now, yeah, this is much more my way of actually yeah, having the camera applied to a character. But as you can see, we can't almost reach the ground here because this is so high. So this is too low. So I say this is 400, for example. And I think now this is a bit better. So yeah, we can also get the things behind, but this is a bit far. So yeah, it's really testing here everything out, how you like it the most. So yeah, this is okay, I think. This is radius I can work with. So yeah. And if I look at the time, this video is almost finished, and we will work on how to add the items in the next video. And yeah, let's see how far we can go. Thanks for your ongoing support, and yeah, have a nice day, and bye. See you later.